For the month of January, I am going to eat one unique vegan meal every single day. By the end of this video series, I will have 31 unique vegan meals to share with you all. This is week 1. So the theme of this week was plant-based, dairy, and meat. Every recipe featured in this block will feature some plant-based dairy and/or plant-based meat. So let's have a look at what I ate. And it is my first vegan meal of the month. I'm doing a breakfast, even though it is now 4 p.m. No, I did not sleep in super late. I just didn't feel like filming myself doing things early in the morning. Anyway, oatmeal, probably one of the most obvious vegan things to do. But you know, it works really well, so I decided to do it, but I jazzed it up a little bit. This is a nutty oatmeal. I used hazelnut extract in with the almond milk, so that's 2 different nuts so far, and then I added some pecans. And then I added some golden raisins to make it sort of emulate a oatmeal raisin cookie, as well as some cinnamon, and as a stroke of inspiration, I added nutmeg, because I thought it would go well as well. I'm gonna give it a little stir. I think ideally, if I were just making this for myself, I would cook the raisins in with the oatmeal so they'd plump up a little bit, but I wanted it to look pretty for the thumbnail, so I put them in later like a garnish. But anyway, now I'm mixing it up and it looks beautiful. This is a better way to eat it. Okay. I don't actually make oatmeal that much. I like it okay, I just don't really think to make it. Well, that's nice. I really like the nut flavors in here. I don't really think I'm getting much flavor at all from the almond milk, and that's totally fine. The milk in oatmeal doesn't really lend much to it anyway if you do cook it in milk, and some people cook their oatmeal in water. So yeah, if you find oatmeal boring, like me, add nuts to it. It adds a really interesting texture and flavor and nutrition, some good fat, some good protein, and the raisins or any dried fruit or fresh fruit is also a really good addition to oatmeal. Now we have day 2 vegan snack, I'm gonna call this. You could have it for breakfast, but there's not that many calories in it, so I would call it a snack. It is a banana oat nut peanut butter smoothie. That's literally all there is in it. I have another video on my channel of me making this smoothie, but with tahini instead of peanut butter and coconut milk instead of oat milk. I also added cinnamon to that one. I did not add cinnamon to this one because I find I don't really like peanut butter with cinnamon in here. Anyway, this is my first time actually having oat milk. So let's try it. I don't even think I taste oat. I pretty much just taste peanut butter and banana, which is good because peanut butter and bananas are good together. The oat milk mostly thins it out, adds a little bit of nutrients to it. Oat milk is a grain and peanut butter is a legume. It's always a good idea to try to balance grains and legumes when you're doing vegan food, just to try to get more complete proteins. It's nice. I like this smoothie. I usually have it with cow's milk and with tahini instead of this, but this is good too. The Impossible Burger, which is already falling apart because it's not real meat. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take the opportunity to taste some of the meat just on its own. Okay, it doesn't really taste like meat or beef, but I can tell it feels like there's fat in it. There's a little bit of an unctuous quality to it that meat has, that straight up veggie burgers lack. But yeah, to taste it, especially these little crispy bits that fell off, because it doesn't cook like a regular burger either. It's crumbly. Yeah, it does not taste like beef, but it tastes, I don't know, it tastes less like a veggie burger, I guess, than other veggie burgers I've had and made. Okay, now let me taste it with this plant-based cheese. Okay, so texturally it is a little bit superior to veggie burgers that I've made. The mouthfeel as I'm chewing it, like it does have a little bit of that chewy, meaty, unctuous, fatty mouthfeel that beef and meat is supposed to have. But like any plant-based burger, it just smushes and falls apart as you try to eat it like a burger. So that part isn't very different. You know, I think if you want this to taste like beef, and like, you can kind of delude yourself into thinking, yeah, it totally tastes the same as beef. It's totally the same. I don't know. I think if you're really honest with yourself and if you regularly eat meat, you're going to notice that this is different. But it's not bad, okay? I don't want to just like poop all over this Impossible Burger. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be anti-vegan. I'm not trying to be like against this. I'm just being honest. And yeah, it's not quite doing it for me in the areas in which I described it. But, you know, I think it can scratch that itch if you are vegan and you're really committed to just never ever eating meat ever. Like, I think it can scratch the itch a little bit for you in a way that some other veggie burgers can. Okay, this piece of cheese just fell off, so I'm gonna try it. Yeah, it tastes kind of like American cheese, which is the kind that I got. And I don't like American cheese, but I figured since American cheese is already kind of fake, it would probably be the best, like the closest thing. This burger is just falling apart all over the place, more so than a regular burger. Yeah, if I were to rank it on my scale that I use for Bob's Burgers, where 0 is not good, 1 is okay, 2 is good, but I wouldn't make it again, 3 is good, and I would make it again, 4 is really good, and 5 is life-changing, I'd rank this like a 0 to a 1.5. It's not like bad. But, and I'm gonna eat the whole thing for sure, because I don't waste food. And Impossible Burger meat's expensive, man. It was like $7 for this instead of what it usually costs for real beef. Man. It's just such a mess. Okay, I'm gonna see what my husband thinks of this. Okay, Impossible Meat Redemption Arc with Gringo Tacos. So if you're wondering why all these shells are misshapen and different sizes, it's because I made them from scratch for the first time ever. So I'm not very good at it. I had some leftover homemade corn tortillas from when I made lamb tacos a few days ago. And so I thought, ooh, I'll just turn those into the crispy shells for these tacos. Anyway, I made these tacos by sauteing some Impossible Burger meat with onion and garlic and cumin and chili powder, some salt and pepper, some sugar, a little cayenne pepper, and some tomato puree. Then I added some water just to let it simmer for about 15 minutes to cook all that tomato flavor out and get all the flavors nice and concentrated and developed. And then I put it in shells with some vegan cheese, some minced onions, some cilantro, some lettuce, and some salsa verde that I had left over from when I made the lamb tacos. Salsa verde is vegan, so it works. I'm gonna eat, should I eat this pour? This is the worst one, like split and fell apart. I mean, tacos just fall apart anyway. I will get, paper towel on standby, because tacos are notoriously messy. And let's see how this works. Yes. So confession, I did try some of the Impossible Taco meat. Just, you know, like you do to adjust seasoning. And I was amazed. I actually wasn't amazed. I was not really surprised. I thought that this was going to work pretty well as a gringo taco meat. But I was pretty happy with how much the same, how beefy it tasted. I don't think it worked very well as a burger, but as a gringo taco meat, when you simmer it with all those other spices and the tomato sauce and everything, that adds some natural umami to it. And taco meat doesn't really taste straight up like beef so much to begin with. It's more about the spices and everything. So if you're going to have Impossible meat or any mock meat as an omnivore and you don't want to be disappointed, then have Impossible tacos, because like if I had the real thing, like side by side taste test comparison, I could probably tell the difference, but just eating it like this, I cannot tell the difference. They taste just like regular beef tacos. Even the plant-based cheese doesn't really bother me because it's just like a little tiny hint of something. It's not like in your face fake cheese. And I gotta say, I was a little skeptical. Brian Langerston, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's this cooking channel my husband and I like. But he's the one who first turned me on to making, you know, attempting to make my own crispy tacos from scratch. And yeah, it is definitely a lot better than the ones from the box. Even though I totally messed these up, they do taste a lot better than the ones from the box, and they have a nicer consistency to them. They really taste like corn. These are damn good tacos. And they're nice and greasy too. Ooh, and side note about Impossible Burger meat. This is a bit of a TMI story. Skip ahead 10 seconds if you don't want to hear the TMI, but I was having some bad gas yesterday after the burgers, so I thought, oh no, what legumes are in Impossible meat? Apparently it's just soy. But while I was looking up Impossible meat, I discovered that it's actually not vegan. And the reason why is they tested the technology on animals when they were developing this product. So it's not certified vegan, actually. For the purposes of this, you know, experiment this month where I'm eating a vegan meal every single day, I think I included in my disclaimer in the introduction video that I'm kind of using vegan and plant-based interchangeably. I'm not being too much of a stickler for like, well, how vegan is it? But if you're concerned about that, like if you don't want to support companies that test on animals, hey, maybe don't get Impossible, get Beyond instead, because they didn't test on animals and they are certified vegan. Anyway, I'm gonna eat the rest of these tacos. They're yummy. Ah! And they're falling apart. Okay, day 5. This is day 5. Vegan mac and cheese. So to be honest, I'm really not looking forward to this. I don't like the taste of American cheese, which is the kind of vegan cheese that this is. I only really made this because I needed to use up like the rest of my slices of vegan cheese. Anyway, I made this like the way you would normally make stovetop mac and cheese. I combined a tablespoon of vegan butter with half a cup of almond milk, and then I cut up into little pieces 4 slices of Daya, however you pronounce that, plant-based American style cheese. And I stirred it, and it took forever to melt. Like, this vegan cheese does not melt very well. I didn't even wind up melting it completely because it was just taking way too long. Come on, melt, you fucking fake cheese. It's been 10 minutes already. Come on, fucking melt already, go it. And I served it with some mixed frozen veggies for added nutrition and just maybe to help me get it all down because I don't think I'm gonna like it. Oh yeah, I also added a little pinch of cayenne pepper to help it out. So yeah, let's get this over with. Pretty much what I expected. If you like grew up liking Velveeta or whatever, you probably like this okay. And you know, I'm actually kind of glad I got the good vegan butter because I'm tasting it. And like I was smelling it as I was cutting it and it smelled really, really good. So no, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. It's not as fake tasting. It's mostly just creamy. But yeah, it's definitely missing something. It kind of tastes just like thick emulsified butter and water. The pepper, the black pepper and the cayenne pepper are nice. Maybe because I was so skeptical and thought it would taste horrible, I'm just happy that it doesn't taste bad. It doesn't taste that great either, but it tastes okay. Like, this is passable. I could totally eat this. I am going to eat this. Let's have some mixed frozen veggies. Because nutrition. It's the morning, which is why I am super attractive, and I'm going to have my vegan caffeinated beverage of a soy chai latte, I guess. It's chai with soy milk instead of cow's milk. So the way I make this is instead of brewing the chai in water, like you know you're kind of supposed to, I guess, I brew it directly in milk on a pot on the stove. And I put the masala and the chai into the pot, and then I let it slowly heat until it simmers a little bit, and then I strain it into this mug. And then this is the lovely elixir, which you can't really see because if I tilt it towards the camera, it will spill out. Anyway, let's try it. Yeah, it's a little sweeter than I'd like it. I think it's probably, you know, how most people would like it. Most people like their chai lattes even sweeter than this. But yeah, this is great. It's pretty much indistinguishable from cow's milk. I did a taste test of a bunch of plant-based milks yesterday. I don't think I'm going to post the video of that until after I post this video, so it might not be up yet when you see this. But if it is up, go check it out. I taste tested and compared about 4 plant-based milks, and I compared them with cow's milk. And the soy milk was by far the most impressive to me. It was the most like cow's milk in its consistency and its texture. Unfortunately, I discovered during the taste test that I inadvertently bought the sweetened versions of the soy milk and the oat milk that I used in my smoothie. I wanted to get the unsweetened versions of everything so that I could better regulate the sugar, but it's kind of hard. They don't say sweetened on the box. They'll only say like unsweetened if it's unsweetened. So be careful if you're buying plant-based milk for the first time, if you're new to it. Make sure it has sugar or doesn't have sugar if that's what you want. But yeah, this is fine. When I did a vegan week, about 10 years ago now, that was one of my biggest hurdles was my caffeine habit. I love tea, but the way I like to drink it is brewed strong black tea with cream and sugar. Milk doesn't really cut it for me because it makes it really watery. And plant-based milk, I found, at least the plant-based milks I got, I had cashew milk and almond milk and coconut milk. They're just like, the texture is all wrong and it's chalky and watery. But this, if I brew it in the soy milk, which has a good consistency, yeah, this works. It does taste a little teeny tiny bit different from cow's milk chai, but like, I'm not bothered by it. Vegan pumpkin pudding. I mean, I call it pumpkin, but it's butternut squash instead of pumpkin. I have actually had this before, but it was like 3 years ago. So on this channel, I made a pumpkin dessert compilation video that hardly anyone watched because I didn't have very many subscribers back then. I'll link it down below. And I improvised a vegan pumpkin pudding with coconut milk, and I really liked it. But I hadn't made it since, and I thought, oh, I'll make that this month because it was nice. So anyway, I made this by cutting up some of the butternut squash and simmering it to cook it through, and then I pureed it in a food processor, and then I mixed it with the rest of the soy milk. Now, since that soy milk was sweetened, I barely had to add any sugar at all. I added just a couple tablespoons of brown sugar, and then at the very end, I added, once it started to come to a simmer, I added some cornstarch mixed with the rest of the soy milk to thicken it, and then I dumped some vanilla extract in at the very end and then put it in these cute little cups that I got at a thrift store for $2. And I did not add spices. I think that's one of the charms of this pudding is that it doesn't have pumpkin spice in it. So you really get to appreciate and taste the pumpkin. So here we go. Yeah, it's really nice, light, refreshing. This is only 100 calories, this little serving right here. So yeah, it's a nice little tiny dessert. Little treat, and it's not too sweet, which I also like. It's just like a normal cornstarch pudding. So we have reached the end of the first 7 days of Veganuary. I'm going to be releasing the next 3 parts of the series in blocks of 8 because there's 31 dishes total. So I thought I'd go over what my favorite thing was, what I learned, and a little sneak peek of what's going to happen in the next video. So the favorite thing the entire week, I would say it was the Impossible Tacos, partly because they were really tasty, just like normal gringo tacos are. But that Impossible meat, it does not agree with my guts. I'm just not having a very good time the day after I ate the Impossible Burger followed by the Impossible Tacos. I'm gonna eat the rest of the Impossible Tacos for lunch in a couple hours, so I'm gonna have a fun time tomorrow. But anyway, I would say it was the Impossible Tacos, but because it makes my guts unhappy, I would have to say my favorite thing this week was the chai. I was really surprised by the soy milk. I mean, I'm just gonna say the soy milk in general was my favorite part of this entire week. I had probably tried soy milk when I was a kid at some point, just in passing out of curiosity. Back in the 80s and 90s, that was pretty much the one plant-based milk you'd see at grocery stores was Silk, you know, the soy milk. They didn't have like the huge wide variety that you see today, but I hadn't really remembered it. And I was just really pleasantly surprised by how close soy milk is to cow's milk in texture. That's like the one thing that I always thought plant-based milks just sucked at, is imitating that creamy texture. So the chai was my favorite. As for what I learned during this block, I did mention at the beginning of this series that I would be sharing my already favorite vegan recipes with you guys, like stuff that is in my regular rotation that I cook. It's not like, oh my god, woe is me, I'm trying all these new things and I'm lost. It's like, no, I actually do dabble in vegan cuisine. Like, I do know how to cook lots of vegan dishes. So part of the goal was to show the stuff that I already know how to make while also exploring some new things that I hadn't tried before or that I didn't know how to make. So I guess the real exploration this time was the Impossible meat. It was my first time trying it, and then to a lesser extent the fake cheese and the plant-based milks I hadn't tried before, the oat milk and the soy milk. And I learned, well, just my suspicions were confirmed about plant-based meats and milks. They overall do not do a good job at like perfectly mimicking the meat in the milk. I don't know if anyone expects them to perfectly mimic it, but yeah, the Impossible Burger meat on its own does not really taste like beef. The cheese doesn't really taste like cheese. The butter so far, the little bit that I had, actually that brand of vegan butter I got that was really expensive did taste good. So I have always thought that like margarines and butters like actually do a pretty good job at mimicking butter flavor. And my guts didn't really like the Impossible meat. Now, to be fair, a lot of that could just be that it was experiencing a new food in general. Like, your guts have to take a while to adjust to new foods that they haven't had before and like develop the correct biomes to digest it and absorb it and stuff. And like, maybe if over time I ate a bunch of Impossible meat, like my guts will get used to it and then I'd be okay with it. I don't really care to try to see if that's the case though, because it is so expensive. That's the other thing that I didn't necessarily learn, but it was just reconfirmed to me that plant-based versions of meat and dairy are just so expensive. Now, they're not inherently more expensive than dairy and meat that comes from animals. There's lobbying done by those industries, at least in my country, in the US, which is why they are comparatively a lot cheaper than their plant-based alternatives. So what I have in store for the next block in this series, I have to eat the rest of this butternut squash, so I'm going to be making a couple dishes with that. And then the other thing that's going to happen in the next block is just about everything I make is going to have some kind of bread component to it, either store-bought vegan bread or vegan bread that I bake myself. So thanks for watching part 1 in my little version of Veganuary, and I hope to see you next time.
And let's hear it for Britt, Honey Badgers, Megan M, Matthew, Jenny D, Jocelyn, Gina F, Megan B, Data Fox, Gina S, Ruth, Katie, Lonesome Screams, Mahir, Morgan, Vidfafo, Britta, Veda, and Colette.